Democracy. Manufacturing.
Is Gabe broken? I think Gabe is broken.
I'm just giving you Joe Biden's talk.
Did you get a vaccine shot? Or
Summarizing it.
an
No.
updated
No,
one?
no,
or
none of
booster?
that.
A booster?
No.
Or 2 boosters?
I was just mimicking Joe Biden's
You're
talk.
starting to sound like Joe Biden, is all I'm saying.
Hey, y'all, good Friday. It's the end of the week.
Yeah.
Pastor Toby Chuck Knox, I'm the water boy. Good to be with you guys.
Using a smartphone or computer opens the door to a host of digital temptations in a world saturated with pornography and other harmful content. What's a Christian to do? We need to take a proactive approach, welcoming transparency in our digital media choices, and Accountable to You makes that easy. Their accountability software shares detailed activity reports from all your devices and your kids' devices in real time to the accountability partners that you choose. With accountability in place, your family can effectively guard against temptations online and live with purity and integrity. Learn more and try it free at accountable2you.com/FLF. And that's the accountable with the number 2U. And if that doesn't work, just throw your phone away.
So it's one of those
Bible.
days. It's one of those days
That's
for
Bible.
Pastor Toby. You know,
That's Bible.
my son has a Kindle. You know, just a black and white Kindle and everything. But you can download audiobooks on there, and so he listens to. We have audiobooks on there for him. And he came downstairs. He had his Bluetooth headphones on. Came downstairs with his dirty clothes and his Audible on top of the dirty clothes. Went and put the whole thing in the washer. And apparently didn't notice for a while.
But he was doing his own laundry.
He was doing his laundry, man,
You know
like
what?
a man, like a little 8-year-old man.
Like a man.
And so, anyways, I don't know. That is just thinking devices. and
Democracy.
stuff.
Democracy.
Manufacturing. Constitution. So, as you guys know, Biden had his big unity speech on Thursday
Is
night
that what
last
it
night.
was?
Are we unified now?
Yeah, man, totally.
Wow.
It's a unity. So, but we just want to give you a little recap of the speech, real quick. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Just a recap.
Blood alone moves the wheels of history. It has been a lifetime struggle, a never-ending fight. I say to you, we must never cede control of the motherland, for it is
Together we prevail. Oh, my gracious.
What did he say at the very beginning? Blood alone moves
The wheels of time.
Well, at least he knows.
Oh, wow. Man.
Okay. All right, let's get sort of serious here. This is going to be hard to be more
That
serious.
kind of was the recap.
It was, yeah. No.
I think that's all you need to say. Right.
So we got 2 quick videos. We just want to actually, we're getting more serious now. We're actually getting to the talk. We got 2 videos that I want to give you that kind of frame, what he actually talked about, and then we got some more videos on that. So let's go to this next one.
So speak up, speak out, get engaged, vote, vote, vote.
Oh,
So obviously, vote.
vote, vote.
So obviously, he's doing this unity speech because
Right.
you got November coming up, and that's and it's all about getting the vote out. So and then the second reason the speech happened.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans.
Oh.
Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Oh.
Oh.
So he says they're a small minority. MAGA Republicans are a small minority, but they have a big impact.
They're
on
dominating
the
the rest of us.
They're dominating.
Boy, he's just coming in saving those
you
rhinos.
Dominating. You're dominated too.
Excuse me, Mr. Biden, could you come and rescue the Republican Party? Me and old Donald Trump got us locked up in the basement.
Help.
Here's
And the MAGA Republicans.
yes. So I think this is right now. Everybody's making fun of this because why would you?
I mean, look at the red.
This is like
Yeah, who's the PR person on this?
they
did this on purpose.
I know.
They did.
Well, of course they did. They wanted to show love and unity and passion
and blood.
Power.
And blood.
Well,
that turns the wheels of time.
sure.
And those poor Marines back there.
And here's what's crazy about this: it wasn't always red, so it was actually just regular light back there. He walks out and they flip it to red.
Wow.
Why? Like,
well, why do you think they want to communicate?
Communist
something?
China.
That's where they're going.
Communist China,
Russia. I think there's something else going on here. If I had to put on a little bit of my tinfoil hat and think in the context
Knox does this part.
of 24, which is kind of really how I think about everything, honestly. And I always have a tinfoil hat on, even though I don't always say it.
Yeah.
I think what's happening here is a couple things, 3 different things. I think they just got done removing Trump's. They're trying to remove Trump's candidacy with the FBI coming in and doing this whole thing with Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
So when you got Trump kind of on his heels right now and he's kind of moving around, it's like, okay, now if we can get him out of the way, now we have to deal with the Trumpites. Right? Because the MAGA people are not done just because Trump's out of the way. If Trump gets 4 years and they're still going to be there, right? Yeah. So now you got to deal with the MAGA people. Right. So now the MAGA people are getting excommunicado. Oh. They don't hold to the Constitution. They don't hold to the freedoms that we have here in America. They are against democracy, these MAGA folks. Extremists. Yeah. And so they're not like the rest of us normal Americans. And then the next thing you got to do is you have to, no one's going to believe that all the MAGA people and all the Republicans are one. Right. We already seen the spatting. So what you got to do is you got to make this line, this division inside.
Divide them.
You got to divide them.
Right.
And you have to control them at the same time.
Right.
So the Republican Party, you divide it and say, all right, everybody who's with us, throw those MAGA folks out there.
Over the side.
Throw them overboard into this group that's getting excommunicated. Yeah. If you're going to live with us, the people who want democracy and liberty and all this stuff like that, then you're going to have to follow a particular type of ideology now. Ours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, we'll make you the new MAGA folks.
Oh, yeah.
So he's creating a pathway to clear out this group that's been a problem for them.
Yeah. He wants to make them small. He wants to minimize them. He wants to get them out.
These energized conservative folks who have not probably been very engaged in politics before and now are. Yeah. And he wants to demonize them and put them outside of the American fold. Yeah. And then he wants to take the Republican Party and split them. And so now it becomes far more a party led by rhinos. Yeah. Right. And we have a lot of them already. Right. So that's what's happening here. And I think it can work. That's what's scary about this. Yeah. I think that it can actually work because a lot of people want the MAGA group removed because they're holding their feet to the fire.
Well, even Mitch McConnell does.
Right.
I mean, even the establishment of the Republican Party. Right. But also notice kind of what you're describing right now is kind of the COVID play. What they would do is they'd try to get your community as small as possible, and then they would fine you, attack you, shut you down, whatever.
Separate you,
make you small and as vulnerable as possible.
Yeah.
And so that identity politics is what they're basically doing here.
So all you have to do is say, "Oh, you're a misinformation person." You get a category and you push everybody. Oh, okay, you don't follow the CDC. Oh, you believe in falsified information. Right. And so now everybody can just say, "Oh, you're a MAGA person."
Right.
Oh yeah, you're outside. We don't even have to deal with you. You're outside the Constitution. And so what's funny is in this next clip that we're about to hear, you hear first he says, "Hey, these MAGA folks, they're bad for society." Now I'm not talking about all Republicans.
Right.
Because some of us want to work together. I've worked with some of them. But listen to how he defines then this MAGA group.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country.
Notice how he defined those. Yeah. Right? No pro-choice.
He's trying to talk me into buying a MAGA hat.
Yeah, for real.
You can't be...
You love babies.
Right.
You want them to live.
Yeah.
You want to have families and be fruitful and multiply. And you think that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Yes. So here's the question.
Extremists.
So, but he's doing
threatening the republic.
Exactly. But he's doing something else here too. Which Republicans bite on that?
Yeah.
He's exposing them to me. I think this is a great opportunity.
Right.
Because anybody who hears that is like, yeah, I agree with him.
Right.
Well, he's just exposing that they might not hold to the value what marriage really is between a man and a woman, or the fact that they're really pro-choice.
Right. Right.
That's not who.
Like Dave Rubin.
So he goes on to say, it's amazing how many. There's this disassociation, cognitive disassociation between what Democrats say and what they actually do. Is it
okay?
Is that the right terminology?
I don't know.
Cognitive dissonance? Is that what
dissonance? Where you're kind of disassociating yourself from what you say versus what you're actually doing.
Okay.
As a party. So he goes on to talk about no place for violence. What?
So I want to say this plain and simple. There is no place for political violence in America. Period. None. Ever.
Oh.
No.
Unless they're babies.
Does Maxine Waters know that?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember Maxine when she said that. What was it? 2016?
Yeah, she was like, find them where they're eating and where they're hanging out at. And you go up to them and
shake them down.
Yeah. What about after Roe? Wasn't there like, you're going to have trouble? There's going to be there's going to be repercussions?
Yeah. But you remember, and there's footage, go ahead and bring up the footage while I'm talking. But you remember in 2020, there was $2 billion worth of BLM riots. $2 billion worth.
Unless you forget.
Go ahead and play the clip. You can play the clip while I'm talking. $2 billion of damage, political damage. And remember, Kamala Harris was donating to organizations to bail these people out. Remember that?
Gabe, they were mostly peaceful
And one
protests.
of the people that she bailed out just got rearrested, I think it was last month.
Yeah, mostly
peaceful. We forget so quickly what happened. And there was a lot of...
This was not political violence.
Oh.
This was victims.
Well, CNN said
understandable.
Remember Chris Cuomo? He said, "When are protests supposed to be peaceful or nice? Or
where's it in the Constitution where protests are supposed to be peaceful?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Huge disconnect.
I mentioned it a second ago, but I do want to point out, like, he just got done saying that he's totally fine with the violence of murdering babies.
That's right.
He's totally fine with the violence of destroying families and marriages. He's totally fine with that kind of violence.
Yeah.
That's political violence.
Well, and apparently Biden's still making the campaign promise to fix cancer.
Oh.
My word as a Biden, I've never been more optimistic about America's future. Not because of me, but because of who you are. We're going to end cancer as we know it. Mark my words. We're going to create millions of new jobs in a clean energy economy. We're going to think big. We're going to make the 21st century another American century because the world needs us to.
Oh, no.
That's where we need to focus our energy. Not in the past, not on divisive culture wars.
Oh.
Did he get that part from the World Economic Forum? Did they make him throw that part? Because the world needs us to. Does China know that?
Yeah.
It's actually a good play for him to position Republicans as talking about the past, because one of the things Donald Trump and a lot of the MAGA Republicans are doing is continually talking about the past stolen election, which I'm for. But if you only get hung up on talking about this over here and not cast a vision for why you should be voting for us in November and then in 2024, you got a problem.
Right.
So it's not a bad play that he's doing that. But what's interesting is he keeps talking about and trying to cast the MAGA Republicans as, this that's their one-hit wonder is the stolen election.
I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate?
Oh.
Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election. And he was put in office because the Russians interfered.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
Failure to acknowledge when elections were won or lost.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America.
You mean democracy?
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina.
I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes.
This is amazing. This goes on for 10 minutes.
I know.
This is a full, and it gets worse because they don't just start with Trump. They go all the way back to Gore and Bush.
Yeah.
And they were on it then, saying the exact same thing. Even some of the worst things about it is like, you know.
But hanging Chad, though. You remember that?
Yeah.
I do.
Florida.
Well, I think regarding the stolen election stuff, I mean, first of all, it's just hard to believe that Biden got 80 million votes.
81, get it right. Don't miss that one.
Come on, man.
That's just hard to believe. And in Wisconsin, remember the Wisconsin Supreme Court just 3 months ago said that all the drop boxes were illegal that they had throughout Wisconsin.
But we had COVID. It was an emergency moment.
And you remember, illegal.
Right.
And you remember, was it 5 states pretty much all stopped counting at the same time? How does this happen?
Gabe's got a tinfoil hat too.
We have
I'm not saying anything because I don't want FBI raiding my.
At least there's some legitimate concern to be had.
Yeah.
That should be allowed to be discussed.
But the point being, like, look, you guys are all on record for objecting to these previous presidential outcomes.
Yeah, right.
If that's a threat to democracy, you're a threat to democracy.
I mean,
or is there room for people to question the outcomes of elections on both sides?
What was the lady who was running for governor in Atlanta? Abrams. Remember her?
Stacey?
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams.
She took forever to acknowledge, and I don't even think she did. She acknowledged the fact that she lost.
Fully did. Yeah.
She thought she was stolen.
Yeah.
And it's like
she thought she was governor.
Knox, that's a threat to democracy. Stacey Abrams also.
That's the other thing that
Joe
gets
Biden,
me.
threat to democracy.
This is the
Hillary,
problem with that.
Threat to
So the way that they understand democracy and the threat to democracy and the way they talk about democracy doesn't really matter so long as you have enough people who can select what they want.
That's right.
Right.
That's
so
all this is.
then what does it matter? Then there isn't any wrong or right. We just don't have enough of us. That's what it really is. So then the MAGA folks can come in and control the situation, and there's nothing wrong with that morally. Because democracy allows for the majority to make the decision.
That's right. But that's reality in a Darwinian worldview.
Right. Democracy.
There's no God. It's might makes right.
Yeah.
The strongest survive. Everything is power plays and manipulation.
Yeah, and we've forgotten that too because we think the same way. We think, hey, if we can just get our people in there in one sense or another. No, I want people who agree to the covenant that we have underneath the Constitution.
Right.
Right? And then those people to rule and operate within that Constitution.
Under the fear of God.
Under the fear of God. Regardless of what the people want.
Right.
Do you understand that? I don't care what the people want.
And this is actually, I mean, you say that and people are going to freak out.
I know they're going to freak out.
But you need to read the Founding Fathers on this. The Founding Fathers specifically did not want a democracy.
Right.
Right? Democracy is what happened in France. Democracy is what happened with the anarchy of mobs.
Right.
And they said democracy is it's like two wolves deciding and a lamb deciding what's for dinner. One of the Founding Fathers said that. But they said democracy is always a precursor to tyranny. Because here's what happens. Democracy creates chaos, creates mobs, and what do you need when you have a mob?
Mm-hmm.
You need a Napoleon Bonaparte.
That's right.
Which is exactly what happened in France. And they watched that happen. They were watching that happen, and that's why they said, we don't want a democracy, we want a republic.
That's right.
A constitutional republic gives the people a voice.
Yep.
But they are represented by people who fear God and keep the Constitution in mind. Right. And sometimes you tell your constituents no.
Right.
Is that where we're at? Because then thinking about what you're saying, I'm thinking that's what Trump has the potential to be, that Napoleon.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why they hate him so much, because so that's why you get rid of him and his folks.
Right.
Because we really do have a democracy, you only get Napoleon.
Well, Biden's the ghost of Napoleon.
I don't even know what that means.
I was about to say, I'm sure that's deep, but I would drown
No, it's
in
not
it.
deep. It's not deep at all. No.
Yeah.
Please.
But democracy,
don't give me too much credit for that one.
last thing to say on this, democracy is, if we have a democracy, the people who are the minority get hurt the worst because they don't have enough votes.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So what they end up having to do is use guilt manipulation, This is a horrible situation. And I think, unfortunately, even though we are set up to be one way, we are operating very much like a democracy.
So Biden ends his speech kind of in a funny way.
And may God protect our nation, and may God protect all those who stand watch over our democracy. God bless you all. Democracy.
Wow.
Democracy.
Wow. Wow.
Democracy.
But back to the point.
That's scary.
God bless democracy.
He needs to go read Deuteronomy 28.
Yeah. Right.
You don't get the blessings of God with other false gods. This is the God of democracy. Right. It's going to be a cruel outcome worshiping the God of democracy.
Right.
That's not. It's going to be a cruel outcome.
No, and we don't want this raw democracy when Republicans are in charge, and we don't want this.
No,
raw democracy.
absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
This is not a partisan thing at all. This is actually saying we are best served. I mean, this goes. I mean, again, like people say, where do you get this from? Okay, we get this from. Exodus 18, Jethro comes and tells Moses, you need rulers over tens, 50s, hundreds, and thousands. Like, that is one of the biblical precedents for having a republic.
Yep.
Right.
For having representatives starting at a lower level and then appeal processes up. I mean, our court system still kind of works that way, broadly speaking. But that's part of the piece that's part of the piece of how historically Christians look back and said, how should we structure our government? It's not just rule of the people. It's not pure democracy. The other place the founding fathers looked actually was Greece, and everywhere there was pure democracy in Greece, wars broke out.
Ooh.
The founding fathers themselves looked back and they said, "What happens when you have pure democracy?" And they said they used the Greeks as cautionary tales.
Wow. Yeah.
We don't want pure democracy because look what happens in France.
Yep.
And then go back to the Greeks. Pure democracy creates wars. Right. They go from pure democracy to the Peloponnesian Wars. Read your Thucydides.
Not classical. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'll wait till the word pops out to realize it was a bad idea.
But the mission of Armored Republic is to honor Christ by equipping free men with tools of liberty.
We're going to need some of those.
Yeah, we do. Necessary to preserve our God-given rights from democracy. In the army, not from democracy, but to protect us from democracy. In the Armored Republic, there's no king but Christ. We are free craftsmen. Body armor is a tool of liberty. We create tools of liberty. Free men must remain ever vigilant against tyranny wherever it appears, especially right after democracy.
Yeah.
God has given us the tools of liberty needed to defend the rights he bestowed to us. Armored Republic is honored to offer you those tools. So visit them today at 500armor.com.
They actually need a package that say protects against democracy.
You ready for the wrap up?
I am.
Let's do it.
Here we go, guys.
Friday wrap up.
On Monday, we had Larson Hicks as guest in the studio as we reviewed the lies of the political establishment they've told us over the last 2 years, with Joe Rogan and Aaron Rodgers playing the parts of the prophets. Since most of the Christian pastors are still hiding in their bunkers and taking PPP handouts, hoping to score cool points like desperate middle school girls. And no offense to any middle school girls. On Tuesday, we started unpacking the report on the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. Turns out everybody was pretty incompetent, and there were multiple failures in every direction. Yeah. We also talked to Kay Rubacek about her experience growing up in communist Australia. How since moving to America, she's seeing many of the same things developing. Wednesday was Beer and Psalms, of course. Gabe finished the report on the Uvalde shooting, and Uber Theonomist Knox tried to get us to agree that somebody needed a public flogging. We also reminded our audience that the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago was a ridiculous hatchet job compared to how previous presidents have been handled. Hillary used a private email address to correspond about top secret classified information, and Obama has a whole museum full of documents that the federal records people were happy to work with him on. I also mentioned that I too have top secret classified documents at my house, and I still haven't been raided by the FBI. On Thursday, we actually dropped 2 shows. Our regular show covered the recently released emails between 88 federal employees and various social media companies, asking Instagram and Facebook to only allow the federally approved misinformation to be allowed. We also talked to Corey Rosen about employee-owned companies and the possibilities of building businesses that are more anti-fragile in these tumultuous times. We also dropped a special show yesterday on Thursday, 36 minutes of attorney Jeff Schaefer from the New St. Andrews College Hale Institute of Law and Public Policy, breaking down the recent Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin discussion of Rubin's buying and selling of eggs, wombs, babies, breast milk, and apparently he thinks he can buy and manufacture anything, including marriage, family, and from the looks of things, even all his friends. We cannot recommend that you listen to that recording and share it highly enough. You already knew it was awful and disgusting, but Schaefer zooms in even more on that malignant tumor than you thought was possible. Yep. Please listen to it, share it with your families, friends, and churches. It will break your heart, but I think it will break it in just the right way, the way it needs to be broken in order to repent of your sins and love your family more faithfully. And
that's in the app. It's in the app. You can find it in the app.
Check out the app. Yeah, that's right. I just took on Cross Politics. We also put it on our YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
And that's where I want to close out tonight in the midst of all these tumultuous times, and they are tumultuous. You're probably frequently wondering to yourself, what can I do? What can I possibly do to make a difference? And actually, there's a great deal you can do, and it's right in front of you. Love your wife like Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. Love her, cherish her, honor her as a woman made in the image of God. Respect your husband, look up to him, honor him as a man, and obey him in the Lord. Honor your daughters as young ladies and your sons as young men. God has burned all our make-believe lies to the ground that you can have family and freedom and sanity without Jesus Christ. But the good news is that with Jesus, you can build communities of worship, communities of hard work, and communities full of faithful marriages and families and generations built on his grace.
Amen.
I need bourbon or something after all of that. I think we got to make like Fridays a bourbon day.
Kind of. You got to finish it.
Can you get us like a ventilation so we can do cigars in here or something? Because I kind of there's some days it's like that would have been good with a pipe or a cigar or something like that.
I mean, watching Joe and Aaron doing it, and they're sitting there with their stogies. I'm like, that's how prophets do it. That's how prophets do it.
They light it up.
The aristocracy got it.
Yeah.
Oh, Pastor, I was just thinking when you were talking, if you don't have a vision for the future, you don't work that way. The vision for the future is in trusting God, believing God, what he says about the future, and looking at your family and kids and planting that reality in them. Say, look, this is the promises God has given us. Work that way. Because I look at this, I'm like, we only get out of here in 150 years with faithfulness. Right? Like, you know, that's the only way that otherwise you're not going to turn this up overnight. It didn't happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight. Right. We got in this story. It was already going. Yep. Right. And God has allowed us an opportunity to play a part in this story. Now it's time for us to be faithful, plant the seeds for the future, and water them in faith.
And just, I mean, again, we've talked about this a lot with a lot of the things that God's done. The bar's actually been lowered quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you want to be a faithful church, be open. No masks.
Yeah,
right.
It's simple.
Preach the gospel. Be open. Welcome. You know, you want to make a difference culturally. You know, get married.
Yep.
Have kids. Baptize them. Right. I mean, like just love them. Like honor the fact that they're male and female. They're different and they're glorious. Honor your wife. Honor your husband.
So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until Monday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic. Enjoy your Sunday.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations, the world's largest classical Christian homeschooling community. I'm launching a new podcast, Refining Rhetoric. If you like cross politics or just listen to hear what crazy stuff they're saying today, you will enjoy Refining Rhetoric. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. I practice the 15 tools of learning by interviewing great guests, looking at current events, and talking about cryptocurrency.
Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told.
We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.
When tyrants take over, what's the first thing they do? Disarm. It happened in Russia, China, Germany, and most recently, Afghanistan. Why? Because disarmed people are easier to control. And over the last century and a half, American tyrants have been carrying out a slow, methodical disarmament that no one is talking about. state education. Tyrants know that education is warfare. Our rulers have a vested interest in making you totally harmless. They've got big plans and they don't want you getting in the way. Think about it. Would you rather fight an army decked out with high-powered rifles or a bunch of dinky water pistols? They know that if you can think critically, you're a threat. At New St. Andrews College, we want to graduate men and women who are dangerous. Dangerous to the world, dangerous to the principalities and powers, dangerous to spiritual wickedness in high places. Education can either arm you or disarm you. It can make you a threat or make you a useful idiot. So, where you get that education counts. Click the link to apply to New St. Andrews College today.